In this episode, we will learn about parallel perspectives in landscape architecture and city design, and learn the basics in this type of perspective to see how we can work with them. One important topic that you need to consider in parallel perspectives, the important part is when you are drawing parallel lines, this one and the one in front of it, like this, to be parallel to each other, with these in 30-degree angle. These two are parallel to each other and these two are parallel to each other. And one thing that we need to learn here, for example, if I draw this in isometric perspective, like this, we need to learn to rotate this in different angles. We get the middles, and like this, it's rotating. When the middle is rotating, it's rotating 45-degree angle. For example, when we draw it in this angle, this one will be horizontal and the other one will be vertical. So when it's like that, it looks like an oblique object. And this is one technique in perspective as well. We have this, we bring it down vertically and like this. We could use 30-degree and 60-degree angle, which means we have one 30-degree angle and the other one is 60-degree. But generally I want to say something else. Apart from being isometric, dimetric, or any other type, like here we have 30-degree and 60-degree angle. The upper one is basically wrong. It could happen with 30-60. If you're trying something like this, one of them can be 0-degree and the other one can be 60-degree. Which this one is correct and it can happen with this one. But there is one thing. We had 30-degree angle and 45 and 45-degree angle. And we did 30-degree angle and 60-degree angle, and we did 0 and 60-degree as well. So we are working with different angles. And in different angles, different type of perspectives can form. And one thing that you need to learn here is to be able to rotate them in any angle. And it doesn't necessarily need to be in any other existing standard, like isometric, dimetric, trimetric, or other type of them. It can have a drastic change inside it. And let's see how we can apply a drastic change inside it. Now, if we consider one angle as our basic angle, for example, we divided each 50-degree angle. If we consider this one 45, we have 3 15-degree angle. And the same thing at the top. And we need to learn vertical lines, considering each one of them. So normally perpendicular to this angle will be isometric, and perpendicular to this line will be isometric as well. And we need to be able to control what's happening when it's on 50-degree angle as well. We need to be able to apply the same thing on the opposite side as well. Now let's practice these angles to see how we can use them and how we can place them inside our sketching. And pay attention here. Normally, we use this type of sample. These are some surfaces. And as we have these, now let's change the angle of them. Or draw different angles between them. Like this. Again, here as well. Now we need to learn how to make each one of them to a surface. First, let's draw the vertical lines. And after drawing each of the vertical lines parallel to the upper line, we draw the same thing on the bottom as well. And here we can see the end, parallel to this one and the one behind it. And as you can see, in different angles, it's rotating. So we have a rotation like this inside this object. And now the rotation can even happen in another axis. First vertical, 150 degree, another 50 degree, same thing at the top. Here again, 50 degree, and here. Now, when we have these, we need to draw parallel to it on the other side as well. And all of this is happening with parallel angles, in different angles. Why are we practicing this? Because when we are drawing something and when we are designing something, we need to be able to do it in different angles. And one of the easiest way to draw perspective is these parallel perspectives. So basically there is no other choice and you need to master this. This time we have a rotation like this. Now let's consider a surface. Only the upper surface. Let's imagine the upper surface and let's consider that as a side plan for our design. If you change the angle, it will look like that. Whatever you rotate it, it needs to be perpendicular to the other line. And over here, we can rotate it like this. We need to be able to do it in different angles. Now, as the thing that will happen, here, let's design a side plan. And here, we'll consider the angle like this. So we are not too loyal to our perspective, which usually is 30-30 or other angles. So we can create different type of angles for ourselves. Now that we have this, we need to create some movement inside it. And to show what is happening inside our plan. So we have these. And next to it now, let's add some details. I'm not planning on doing complete sketching, but for now I'm just doing an illustration. And as for other areas, if we have some flooring or something else, we should add that as well. Pay attention here. From a perspective that doesn't have anything in particular, we can add small details like this to get a specific design. And as we have these, we can add some flooring here as well, parallel to the end line that we have. And if you remember, these perspectives are parallel perspectives. If we have some mountainous area at the top, we can show it as well. And by this, we can show the topography of the mountain. And here we do the divisions. Look how easily we're doing this. We can even continue our plan here as well. And a rotation like this, and here like this as well. And we're crossing a bridge here as well. And as you can see, the basic of our design is parallel lines. And with a very simple technique like this, you're able to get a design like this. When you see that some lines are going outside of the surface that we have, first lines that we did are just showing the surface. And after that, we can add any lines on it that we want. Add more trees here. And these type of perspective can help you a lot in landscape architecture and city design. They help a lot because they will give you 360-degree view, and you can show what is happening in your side plan. Just like the one that we did here. And in the end, next to some more trees here as well. I'm just doing the trees very fast because for now we are learning the concept, and later on we'll practice more details and more samples. So one of the very good angles that we can use inside our perspective is this one, which is like 7 and 42, almost a geometric perspective. And you don't necessarily have to do it in this angle, you can change it however you like. Let's do another sample in different angle. It's a collection and we have a movement like this. Let's give it some height. This is the height of our city block. So buildings can happen like this inside it. And in the middle, we can have a street. But the angle that we have here focuses more on our buildings instead of the street. So if you want to show the street, we need to do it in another angle. And we need to rotate it a little higher. That's why I'm telling you we need to learn different type of angle in order to show different type of objects and details. So we did those, and here we can cut it out. Another alley or street is passing here. As this block is forming, and here same thing. We're using a very simple angle and we're creating something like this. Even though that we don't have a lot of details, we're getting a good result from it. And we will keep doing this and add more details in order to get better result from it. And from this side, if you want to add some stairs, we can show the placement. All of them needs to be following the same angle. Do the lines very smoothly. vertical and horizontal for our stairs. Like this. And inside of these we can have some plants. Look how easy it is to work with this. And next to it, when we are moving, we could create some soft lines like this. Other type of plants can be placed here, on the top here as well. Maybe some stairs here as well. Now let's move to the other side. And as you can see, we are open to do many things inside this design. Maybe some details on the buildings that we have here. So here we can show many ideas, because everything is visible in this angle. And when everything is visible, you can show the details inside your plan very easily. And on the roof that we have here, we can show details as well. Like this. Create another opening back there. Maybe some trees. And if this building is higher than these ones, we can increase the height like this as well. So everything is under our control, and we can create very good details inside it. Like this, and all of this is happening in this angle. Now let's add some details on this building as well. Maybe send a part at the bottom more inside. A couple of columns here. Maybe something like this. And this one happened in this angle as well. Next to it, we can add our figures in order to understand the size and the scale of this one. I don't want to spend too much time on that one. But what will happen if we want to design a street? As we learned, if we want to show more of the street, we need to change the angle, and we need to look at it more from above. If we look at it from this angle, we can show more of the street. I'm going to rotate my parallel so we can see more of the surface. And as you can see, we can add our block here. We can show the height of it. And like this, we can see more of the street. And again, in this angle, we are able to see more of the pathways. It's the same thing for landscape architecture and for city design. And it's the same thing in architecture. Now that we are here, let's consider this length for our pathway. And from this side, we place our other block. And here, as you can see, we have more space to work with. Maybe you can even work with 0 degree and 60 degree angle for the next one. But as you can see, considering the last time, here we have better angle for our street to work on. Like this, we can divide these. We can add a little detail to show these spaces. Maybe a couple of windows on them and other details. And in the end here, we can create a pathway in the middle, which maybe we are designing the greenery in the middle of these residential complex. So we can imagine what is happening there and start working on them. We can use some broken angles for this one. As you can see, it tells a completely different story. With any angle that we want, we can do it. So there is no limitation. So you can use any angle that you want, but the important part that you need to stick on is your parallel lines. You need to be loyal to that. Here we can add some greenery and some plants. Maybe some movement over there. Not too much detail. Here I'm basically looking forward to working in this angle. So the upper part has that greenery, and here we can create some soft lines inside it and place some plants. So as you can see, very easy, we were able to create this type of design between two residential complexes. And not necessarily everything is to be flat. We can give them some height and create some topography. Later on I'm gonna do those so we can use them in city design and landscape architecture. Our complex looks like this, and after that, if you add some color, you can see how cool it will look. I'm just gonna show the greenery and plants. And I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on other details. And as you can see, just like this, we are showing the concept that we have. Maybe here we can add some lighting. Maybe a little touch of color for the water that we have. So here we just created a basic idea. So with two simple movements, we were able to do that. Now that we've learned that, sometimes in order to show an idea, we need to work with a harsher angle, which, for example, in order to show our street, we can consider the vertical angle like this. We can even increase it more than 60 degrees. And we can mix that with a lighter angle in order to show a part as a building and another part as our street. Be careful to get the angles correctly and to get the parallel lines correctly as well. Back in the days, maybe people would stick to these angles more strictly, but nowadays it's not like that. And we can work in any angle that we want. And let's see what we can create here. Now let's add more details to see what will happen. This part may be a circle space. So everything that we do needs to be in this angle. Maybe another movement next to the circle. And maybe some other movement on the other side which slowly goes and connects to the other part. It can happen like this. And parallel to that one again. But we are loyal to the surface that we are working on. Now let's add some more details on the sides. The movement that we have here could happen very straight. One part is organic and the other part is made out of straight lines. Maybe this part could be a fountain. Like this. And now slowly and bit by bit we can add details or remove some areas. Let's connect these two parts and continue this way. And from this part we can create a way in the middle of that one. Maybe some path here which goes all the way and helps us divide our design. Other angle can happen inside it as well. And in general, when we have something like this, now let's add some details. But when we're adding details, we need to pay attention to how we do it. And here we can separate it to get the spaces that we want to add our greenery. Here we are not working only on designing. You need to learn how to work with geometry. And in order to use geometry in your designs to your advantage. The main topic here is the angle that we have in our perspective, how to control movement on the buildings that we have and on the surfaces that we create. And we are here in order to find good angles to design in, and for you to understand how to use them in order to design something inside them. We're going to divide this building from this side as well. Maybe some porticos and the columns underneath it. And you can see the positive effect as we're adding these details. Like this. Now, from this side as well, you can continue the same design. Continuation of the facade can come this way. You're doing a very fast sketching, and because of that, I'm not going to spend too much time on details. Even though that we can spend a lot of time and get a lot of details. So we showed this part and these that happen there, we can have here as well in this angle. And we can mix it with the areas around it. If you have a waterfall or any other detail, we can place it as well. Like this. Here we have the greenery, this part can go back. You can show the walkway, we can make the edges more smoother, and here, like this. Generally we are working on the concept here. You can make the edges darker, and as you can see we are working on this in a very specific angle. So very easy, you can control movement in this type of angle. Basic of the design can happen with pencil, and after that you can work on it with pen and create something more clean. Let's make these edges smoother as well, and to show which areas are considered for greenery and which ones are our pathways. And here, instead of doing trees like that, we can add some color for our greenery and for our grass, and after that we can add details like plants and trees. So first we are doing a basic color. For fountain, same thing. We could turn those into fountain and have some water here as well. So like this, we are just showing the general idea. Now let's add the rest of the greenery. And as we add these, it's much more understandable that what is happening inside our side plan. And as I said before, main quest here is to know the different angles. And because we've learned parallel lines and isometric perspective, here we can create something with more details. Some more colors here. We placed two huge trees here. Later on we can add the trunk for it as well. Here's some more. And here's same thing. Next to these, one by one. We are using the same color, and we don't have to be too stressed out about it. We can just use it over and over again on some areas to create darker shades. And now slowly we need to bring some darker shades inside the design to make it look better. So we did the basic color for each area. Now we need to add more details on it, and we need to work on them. To add some lines and some stains of color. Exactly like we've learned in basic course, how to draw plants and greenery. Like this, a general form for these plants. Look, we can create them in different shapes. And again, same thing here as well. Some lines to show the shape of them. And as you can see, it looks really good already. Even though that we are not spending a lot of time on these lines. Just some lines to get the general shape, that's enough. It looks like a very professional sketching, even though that we didn't do anything special inside it. We just used the technique and we were able to get something like this out of it. And as you can see, we were able to create this, and we're adding details slowly and one by one, like this. So like this, we were able to create something that can be used in city design or in landscape architecture. Well, let's use CG number 1 to add a little tone for this walkways. Maybe we're not gonna use it for everywhere, but as much as we show these places, it's enough. And as we add this very light CG color, we can use the same color on our building as well. On these areas that are going inside to introduce some depth to our design and some darker shades on the left side. And as we did this, we can use green color 504 to add some darker colors inside it as well. It's not really important to use what color. The most important part is that we need to start with lighter colors and then work our way up to darker colors. It can happen in one color. That could be a very simple sketching, 2 color, 3 color, or so on. So start your way up from light colors. I will try to create a guide for you guys to be able to choose a correct marker in order to work. Doesn't really matter, to be honest. We can use all of them at the same time. The main point is to get a correct sketch. So, as you can see on the left side of our plants and trees, we are adding some highlight. So the sun is moving from the right side. We use the color 302. Now we can use the color 304. A darker shade of blue. We can even use another brand. Doesn't matter at all. Just a couple of stains of color to show the movement of the water. Here, same thing. Now, let's use CG number 3 to add darker shadows. To add darker areas on the left side. And as you're adding these, it looks good already. Maybe we're not gonna add the shadows for everywhere, but in the areas that will make our sketching to look better. And I'll color inside these areas. Some extent of the shadows on the ground for these trees. And now, if we add some figures, we can introduce a scale to our design and to show the scale better. And in some areas you can add some light. And as we are moving forward and we are adding more details, we can add different areas to our design as well. But we will leave it as it is, and as you can see, we were able to design a very good landscape by using very simple colors in a very specific angle. And just like that, we were able to design and draw a very good sketching. So try to introduce different type of isometric inside your design, and always try to get the correct angle for your sketchings, because the correct sketching will help your end result a lot. And in general, when you're using these type of technique, you can get a very pleasant end result, and these type of angle can help you create a very good sketching in isometric in city design and landscape architecture without any problem.